Well, hello, and welcome back to the Redeem Her Time podcast. I love these episodes when it's not just me and a microphone, and I actually get to have a friend in a virtual room with me, and you guys get to listen into our conversation. And I know you're going to be blessed today because we're going to be talking about something that we don't spend a lot of time talking about here on the podcast. And yet, if we don't give this area of our life time and attention, one day it will demand our time and attention and will always cost us more. So I've invited my friend Lara Frendjian to come and join us and have a conversation around wellness and what that looks like in this season of midlife. So Lara, I'm excited to welcome you. First, tell us a little bit about who you are and like what are you juggling in this season of your life?
Thank you so much for having me on. It's really, really fun to be here because I get to talk health and I get to talk from a biblical perspective, which
Yes,
is,
full permission. Talk Jesus all you want,
yeah,
right?
yeah, so important. My name is Lara. I'm a holistic nutritionist, a life coach. I'm almost 50. I turned 49 very soon.
Just so you
Actually,
guys know, if you're not watching on YouTube right now, she does not look like she's about to turn 50. She looks like she could be like 30. So you're doing something right. I love it.
yeah, I mean, you got to take care of the body. And
Right.
I feel like we have a hard time as believers doing this. So I'm so glad
Mm,
we're having this conversation. I do nutrition and everything in between because we are holistic. We are
mm,
body,
yeah.
soul, spirit. We got to take care of it all. And I believe taking care of the physical body is really important. I've been a practicing nutritionist for over 10 years. I started off in finance and accounting. I was a controller for a long time. And then my health started to fail me. So I started to listen to my body. And I knew that I couldn't do the Lord's work if I wasn't feeling well. That's
Mm,
truly the heart of why I changed gears and wanted to do this because I knew health mattered. I know that our wellness matters to God, and I know that we're not meant to suffer. We can do everything in our power to take care of our physical body. I think it's a responsibility that we have. So I made the shift. And then, that was in my 30s. And then fast forward, everything changed when I hit like 45. And I thought, what is
mm.
happening?
Welcome to
Everything,
midlife, right?
right? Everything I was doing was no longer working. So I kind of shifted gears and I really dove into health and nutrition for us midlife women because we are very unique and we need to do things a little bit differently.
Mm,
So, yeah, that's kind of how
yeah.
I got to where I am today.
Yeah, I love that. I love how oftentimes it is our own personal journey and that aha moment or that like stuck point or that wall that we hit and then God shows us, exactly what it is that he is calling us to in that area and then we get to bless and help other people with that. So that's so beautiful. I love the fact that you said that we can't do the Lord's work if we're not feeling well.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like here is this cost that it has. If we're not giving time to this, right, we actually are paying for it down the road,
Yeah.
in not being able to do these things, whether it's our business, whether it's the role we play in our family as mom or wife or grandma or aunt or whatever that is, in our communities and things like that. And I love
Yeah.
the idea that you brought up about that responsibility. And what I wrote down next to that word responsibility is stewardship. And
Hmm.
we talk a lot about here on the Redeemer Time podcast that we are not called to be managers of our time. We're called to be stewards of it because it is not ours and it's not, something that's all about us. It is a gift that's been given to us. And the same is true with our wellness and with this temple that we've been temporarily given to
Yeah.
reside in while we're here. And so there is an element of needing to steward what that looks like. So I love, and I'm just going to kind of like tease out where we're going, and then we'll kind of like come back to the beginning. When
Sure.
and I were having a conversation on what are we going to talk about on the Redeem Her Time podcast? And you're like, I want to talk about the connection between hormones and stress and time management. I was like, ding, ding, ding. Sign me up. I want to know all about that. I'm really curious how you tie time management into hormones and stress. But maybe let's start with like the hormones and stress part of things first, right? Like, and especially in midlife, because like you said, things are changing. And maybe we didn't have to give so much time and attention to certain things in the past, or maybe the type of time and attention we gave them was working in a certain season and now it's not. So maybe kind of let's dive into that a little bit more. Why is this especially a problem,
Yeah.
a struggle, a need for Christian women, especially those of us in midlife and those of us who want to be doing the Lord's work when it comes to the business that we're called to in these other roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's I mean, it's a simple one and a complicated one. So I'll
Mm,
start with why things shift so dramatically. And I have this analogy of describing our body as having a stress bucket.
mm.
So, because there's the person who kind of experiences, let's say, what I experienced at about 45, and then there's the person who kind of just floats through menopause and perimenopause, and they're like, everything is
I know what
okay.
you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just like roses and butterflies, and there's a difference between those two people. And the difference is our stress bucket. So we have this
Mm,
stress bucket, and throughout our life, we're filling it up with stuff. We're filling it up with, nutrient deficiencies that accumulate over time. So if you don't have a great diet over your lifetime, well, you're going to start to become deficient in certain minerals and nutrients. That's a big part of what I do because they're so closely tied to hormones. We can go there if we want to. So that's one. We can have just lifestyle stress. So one person has a lot of stress in their life. They run a business, they have to fire people, they have had 3 or 4 kids. Their stress load is different from the single person who, like I don't know if you've read any twin studies. They've done a lot of twin
mm,
studies, right? One thrives and the other has ailments. Well, their stress buckets are completely different. So your our stress bucket is filling up. And then we hit midlife and our hormones do change. There's
mm,
a lot of research supporting this. Progesterone declines staggering 75%. Progesterone is your zen hormone. It's your calm hormone. It helps you sleep. If you've had kids, it's that hormone in, the first trimester, you feel sleepy and you just want to sleep all the time. Well, you've got lots of progesterone in your bloodstream.
mm,
So it's this calming, sleepy hormone. And if it declines, we feel anxious, we can't manage our time well. We feel like we have no time. We can't think clearly. We feel possibly depressed. We can't sleep through the night, and that leads to a whole bunch of other issues.
right.
So that's kind of like really fills up our stress bucket. And what I find is that at that point, it starts to just bleed out. We're
Mm,
overflowing. Now, if your stress bucket was less full, okay, during your lifetime, that still happens. Progesterone still declines for everybody. Estrogen is erratic, and then at some point it declines as well. But you have capacity. And the reason why this is so important is because in peri and postmenopause, your ovaries start to kind of slow down and at some point shut down, and your adrenals take over for hormone production. And so, if your body is under stress, your adrenals will not produce the right hormones that you need. They're busy producing cortisol and adrenaline. So just
mm,
to simplify it, I give this stress bucket analogy, but there's a lot of science supporting this. So that's really the difference between the two. So I feel
mm,
like we really need to address what's stressing the person out, what's
mm,
stressing your body out. So it's not a one size fits all solution, unfortunately. Some of the things we'll talk about, we have to do very similar things to fill up, empty out our stress bucket so we feel good again. But some things we really need to address and address it in a bio individual basis and understand what's really stressing your body out because it
mm.
will look different from mine.
Yeah.
And symptoms have a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's inevitable that we're going to experience stress.
Yeah.
But I love this analogy of the bucket and how much capacity do we have left in there? Because that is, sooner rather than later, if it's already pretty full, it is going to, like you said, come slopping out all over the place. And then we're going to really see and feel that. So I'm curious because you are coming at health and wellness and stewardship of our bodies and things like that from a, biblical perspective, from seeing this as something that is a gift from God that matters to God, that affects the work we do for Him. So what do you hear, like, because you're out in the world of health stuff and hearing other people, talk about it, like, what maybe does the world tell us to do in response to this? Because let's be honest, every woman on the planet is going to experience this, whether she's walking with Jesus or
Mm.
not, right? So, like, what is kind of maybe the worldly advice when it comes to this type of thing and how we're to respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, the most common thing is, and although we experience a lot of changes, right? So, some common ones are tiredness, fatigue is very common, bloating, digestive issues, weight gain, and hot flashes, a whole slew of things. Okay. Everyone's symptom will be joint pain, sleep issues, lots of issues. But what gets me every single time is that we always approach it from the weight loss perspective.
Hmm.
All this is going on. You're feeling crazy, wild. That brain is not functioning as it should. And all we think of, because this is what we've been told time and time again, just eat less, exercise more. You just need to do these two things. And maybe some people are, I think the world is starting to look at it a little bit holistically as well. Is okay, maybe you need to sleep, maybe you need to hydrate a little bit better. But, if I go to my doctor, she's tells me, perimenopause, I could put you
Hmm.
on the birth control pill, and your metabolism's gonna slow down. So just, mind your eating and mind your moving.
Hmm.
And I think it just fills up our stress bucket even more because
Hmm.
9 out of 10 women that are coming to me are already doing this.
Hmm.
And when I look at their food logs, they're eating next to nothing, like
Yeah.
no calories. And it's stressing their body out even more. And
Yeah.
so I like to approach it differently. And I like to address the health and then the weight loss because the two are completely different.
Okay, so let's go into that because obviously
Yeah,
we don't want to stay in a place where we're experiencing all these symptoms and always struggling and feel like we're working really hard, but not seeing a good ROTI, a return on time invested, because that's really frustrating, whether it's in our business, they're working hard, or in our health, to be doing what we have been told are the right things to do, but not seeing the results can be really discouraging and lead to more stress, like you said, and things like that. So walk us through, like, how do we start changing or growing or like addressing this area? I know, like you said, it's not going to be a one size fits all. So
sure.
maybe kind of give us some general like principles and things like that. And here maybe where we kind of tie it in a little bit to time management and that part of it
Sure.
as well.
Sure. Okay, so I would say the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we're eating.
Mm.
So I'm a nutritionist. That's my bread and butter, no pun intended.
Ah, love it.
So we have to eat. We have to eat nourishing food. So you'll hear a lot about macros. And I'm all in. Okay. So we definitely need the protein is all the craze right now, right? Everyone's talking protein. 5 years ago, it was all the fat. Okay. But now we're into protein. So great. I was into protein 5 years ago because protein balances blood sugar. We do lose muscle mass as we age. So we do need to eat enough protein. So if you don't know where to start, 30 grams. Try to hit like get a MyFitnessPal, any free account that you
Mm.
can, and start logging your food. And don't change anything, just see what you're eating. Just start with the baseline of, okay, if I look at my macros, what am I consuming? And 9 out of 10 women are consuming a lot of carbohydrates, even if it's not refined carbohydrates. Even if you're
Mm.
like, I don't eat pasta, I don't eat bread. Well, all vegetables, all plant foods are carbohydrates. Crackers are carbohydrates. Like, you might be eating health food, but they are still primarily, we lean, okay, and I'm generalizing, we lean towards carbohydrates.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I love vegetables. Great. But vegetables have very little protein. So just look at your diet and see what you're eating and just be honest,
Mm.
right? Take an honest assessment of where you're at.
I love
And
this. I just want to pause for a second because I often use this illustration. I have women do a time audit where
mhm,
and I always equate it to a food diary. And I tell them, I said, have you ever done a food diary where you actually write down what goes in your mouth and then you can pay attention to it? Because otherwise you think you're healthy, right? But
right.
you don't really know. Same thing with our time. We think we're being wise with our time, but we don't know until we do it. But what I often say is that oftentimes when we have to write things down, it makes us stop and think first before it goes in our mouth because I don't have to write down that I just ate that, right? So I think it kind of makes us maybe more mindful too of what
For
actually is
sure.
going in my mouth and why and when and how much and things like that.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, it's important to be honest with yourself with
Mm,
everything.
mm.
You know, you find yourself wasting time, just be honest with yourself. And I mean, you're walking with the Holy Spirit. He'll prompt you. We just have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So start with a food log and then, look at your protein, vegetable, right? Plant, carbohydrates. So the three macros are protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And then start to work from there. So try to up the protein and reduce the carbohydrates, especially if you see a lot of refined. Like if you see
Mm,
bread all over the place, just cut one out and then replace it with something else. And so that's a good place to start. I focus on macros and micros. So if you are logging, see, are you getting enough magnesium? These are the micronutrients that are really focused on magnesium, potassium, copper, retinol, vitamin C, zinc. These are the food, the micronutrients that I'm watching because they are directly correlated with hormones.
mm,
Hormones from progesterone to estrogen to insulin. All of our hormones run on minerals. So we have to be cognizant of that. So that's one easy thing you could do. The second one is, what are you filling your time with?
mm,
What are you doing? I mean, I love the time audit. I do get my clients to do something like that too, where they're logging, they're keeping track at some point of the things that they're doing, and they're being honest with themselves and me as a coach, right? To say, okay, are the things that I'm doing moving me towards or away, right?
mm,
Am I using my time wisely? Is this like if I value my health, is my Instagram scroll, does it fit? Does it fit in my day, right? How is it helping me, or is it actually, in fact, hindering me? So I think that's a really wise thing for all of us to do. And what I'd like, to say in this piece is look at the way you're spending your morning and evening.
mm,
So if we just reduce the stress load on our body from the morning and evening, and I'm going to tap into the scroll again, so, exposing your eyes to blue light. I have my phone in front of me, my computer, I'm speaking into it. This is blue light. And this promotes cortisol secretion. And it's fine during the day when cortisol is supposed to be higher during the day. But if it's in the evening, if it's first thing in the morning and it's way spiking my cortisol, if it's wiring
mm,
my brain, there's research to say when you're scrolling, when you pick up your phone and you do a pattern, there's a pattern we all follow. I check my email, I check this, I check that. Like there's a pattern that my brain has learned that I do. If I do that first thing in the morning, my level of concentration goes down for the
mm,
entirety of the day. Just like protein in the morning, if we eat enough protein in the morning, it dictates your blood sugar for the entire day. Well, scrolling on your phone does the same thing, but
mm.
in a negative way. It
Wow.
gives you this squirrely brain, and there's research supporting this. So just take away the scroll for morning and evening. Very simple thing that we can do, and be honest with the way that spending your
Mm.
time. Because a lot of us will think, well, I have no time for eating well. Is that true?
I love this because literally this episode is coming out as we are almost to the end of our digital fast. And, it's so interesting because we think we don't have time, not realizing so much of it is getting sucked up by this device, right? And then over the last few weeks, we've been laying that down and putting some healthier boundaries on it. And I guarantee my listeners right now are going, you know what? Like I don't miss it as much as I thought I would, and I feel better, and I have more time
I love it.
for healthy options and healthy choices and things like that.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. And then the third thing I would say is, I know it's a tough one, but move your coffee. So
Mm,
move your caffeine because some people drink tea in the morning. Just move it to after breakfast. And because the stress bucket is so important, because our adrenals in this phase in our life is so important, we need to do things to reduce our stress. So reducing the scroll and make sure you're sleeping
mm,
well at night, etc. Actually reduces your like empties out your stress bucket. So what we need to do is do everything in our power to empty out that stress bucket. And moving coffee to after breakfast, the most challenging thing. Like I'll ask people to do all kinds of things and recommend. This is the toughest one because we're so connected to our coffee. It's like our brain comes on. I need my coffee. Don't talk to me until I have my coffee. Like these are all common things that I hear.
Yeah.
But if you're struggling with energy, with focus and concentration, just shifting your coffee and waiting about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and usually after breakfast is ideal, to have your coffee is going to enormously change your energy levels, your level of
Mm.
focus for the entirety of the day.
Mm.
Black and white. This is a black and white change that you do it once and you see a
I
difference.
was
It's
just
a
going to ask, is this like a, like you'll notice it right away or it takes
right
time?
away.
Okay.
The same day, I'll get messages like, "What? This is like magic." No, it's not. It's just
Hey, here's
physiology.
the challenge, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And such a
Yeah.
simple shift.
Such
Now,
a
is this
yeah.
a different thing, like because of being in midlife, that this is something that
No,
like maybe in the past it wasn't as stressful on us? Or has it, is it something like if somebody happens to be listening who's like in their 20s or 30s, is this also something you would recommend for them as well? Or is this more of a
everybody.
midlife type thing?
Yeah. Everybody
Everyone. Okay.
across, yeah, everybody, because they're physiologically, and some of us are more sensitive to caffeine than others.
Mm.
Physiologically, it does spike cortisol levels. So you don't want your cortisol levels to overspike and become dependent on a substance to spike your
Mm.
cortisol. So that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And the second one, it's coffee. We have this basically adenosine, and it clears within the first hours of the morning. And this is a relaxation hormone or neurotransmitter. And caffeine blocks the clearing of that. So if you
Mm.
have it right in the morning, it's blocking the clearing of that. And then later on in the day, adenosine is still there. It hasn't cleared yet. And so then it clears in the afternoon and you get this crash in the afternoon. So everybody across the board will benefit from this for sure.
So interesting. Okay, so we got three things. One, we're looking at what we're eating, right? We're looking
Yes.
at our food and our intake of nutrients or lack thereof. Two, we're looking at our time. I love this, right? What are we filling our time with and how can we make time for healthy choices and healthy movement and preparing
Mm.
healthy meals and things like that. And then three, the challenge, the coffee challenge, right? I'm gonna call this the coffee challenge. I have a feeling we'll be having this conversation over in the community. We'll get to that in just a minute. Just moving that. So
Yeah.
I want to kind of, again, kind of pull this back then and tie it all in together of where I kind of led off this conversation. This connection then between stress and hormones and time management. So, like, pull this together here. Like, how does us doing these things and stewarding our wellness in this way, how is this going to affect our time and the ROI on our time, what I call ROTI, return on time invested, especially as business owners who, let's be honest, have a
Yeah.
lot of demands and distractions and all kinds of things that we, need or want to spend time on, or sometimes we don't. But
Sure.
yeah, so like, how does this kind of all tie together to helping with that?
Yeah, great question. Well, it goes back to why it's important, and I believe why it's so important to take care of our physical bodies.
Mm.
Like the work that you do, I believe is kingdom work
Hmm.
because you help a person walk, right? Walk in freedom, have freedom of time, and really accomplish the things that, are on God's heart for that person. So if and I feel the same way about my work. If I can help someone get their body in order and
Mm.
feel better. And when you feel better, I'm not just talking about lose weight, right? I mean, I
Sure.
help people lose weight, right? That happens. It's a side benefit instead of the focus.
Yes, I
If
love that.
we can feel better, well, feel better looks like more a clear mind,
Mm.
now, a less cluttered mind, and now I can think clearly, less anxiety, more calm, more peace. So, if I can function in a body that feels really good, because I know what not feeling well feels like.
Mm.
So, when I was going through this struggle myself, I was extremely anxious. I mean, my name, I have a thing about names and understanding the meaning of a name. My name means the happy one.
Mm.
And I was not the happy one, right? My joy was gone. I was extremely anxious and I couldn't think clearly. Like if I had a deadline moved, it was like the end of the world.
Mm.
And I wasn't managing my time well. I was like, I wish someone could just organize my calendar for me so I can actually get things done because my mind was cluttered and unclear and I felt foggy. So if I could remove all that. And God did, right? As I helped my body heal, as I understood the connection of nutrients and hormones and all of that, as my body healed, my capacity to hear him increased, my capacity to get work done increased. So I
Mm,
feel like I really think, and I say this to believers, and they have a hard time understanding it, and maybe we could talk about it. And I'd love your thoughts on it. If I believe it's our calling to take care of our physical body, because if I feel well, now I can do kingdom work
mm,
so much better than I did in the past
mm,
because I'm no longer self-focused and I have the capacity to think and do
mm.
versus feeling bogged down and tired and just wanting to veg out in front of the TV because I have no energy left at the end of the day. Now I can pick up the phone and if God tells me, "Oh, call Joey." Oh, okay, Joey needs my support. I need to pray for this person. And I could reach out. "Hey, do you need, I have more capacity." So I feel like it's our responsibility to take care. This is the temple that like we host the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he works through us. He could do whatever he wants, but he chose us. And he
Yes.
gets to work through us when we allow him. So I just feel like we have more capacity when we allow him to heal our bodies and when we give us the space. Because if we don't, we do get older and our bodies do deteriorate. And yeah, I think our capacities diminish. Could we work through it? Probably.
Sure, sure.
But
What pictures coming to mind? I have two images that are coming in my mind. So we'll see if one or both of these really resonate with what you're saying. The one is a car going down the road, right?
mm,
If you are not giving it the oil changes, if you're not, checking the different systems and stuff like that, it'll keep driving.
yeah,
You'll probably be able to go down the road for a while, but it's going
true.
to start making noises. It's going to start not getting good gas mileage. It's going to start, sputtering and things like that. And
Mm,
eventually, if you don't give the time and attention to it, you'll be off in the ditch, calling for a tow truck. So it's like it can go so far, and then it literally will just shut down. And I really think that that's something that can happen. The other illustration that comes to mind that I often talk about because as I was sharing with you before we hit record, this area of wellness is one of the 8 key areas of attention that I teach. And so I have this balance assessment where it looks like a wheel. And we talk about how we have all 8 of these areas. Actually, there are 7 going around. I put faith at the center, unlike life wheels that have faith as one of the equal,
yeah,
parts. I believe it's the hub of everything. So
yeah,
7 going around. And what happens is like, say for example you're riding your bicycle down the road, right? And if there is a spoke that's loose or it's not all the way in, connected all the way to the end, your bike will keep rolling, like you will go down the road, but every time you hit that spot it's going to be like clunk clunk,
mm,
like it's gonna, and that's going to put stress on the other areas, right,
yeah,
that are also kind of bearing the weight, right, because it's all interconnected. And I think that's what often happens is that we have an area like our wellness. We may be so good about spending time with the Lord and connecting with our family and serving them and serving our clients and working our business and taking care of our homes and like all these things. But if we're neglecting this temple, then all those other areas are bearing the weight of that,
yeah,
and like you said, our body's not able to handle the stress. And these other areas are now going to start experiencing stress because of the fact that this area is not getting the time and attention it needs.
yeah,
And yeah, for a while, our wheel may roll down the road. It's going to be a little clunky and bumpy, but then at some point the wheels are going to fall off, right? Like it's going to have, it's going to put so much stress on that area that it's now not going to work anymore. And so I think that's really that key is I don't want to wait till that time. I don't want to wait till it's a health crisis. I don't want to wait till I've got a diagnosis. I don't want to wait till, I'm in bed and not able to move like I want to,
yeah,
when we can be preventative, right? So I
yeah,
think that's really it is time well spent. It's not selfish. It is what's going to save you time, energy, stress, all the things down the road because it
mhm,
will always cost more later, right? It's like paying on
yeah.
credit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love both. I love both pictures. I'm a pictures person and they describe it really well. And some of the things that I'll hear is, well, it's God determines the day that I go
Mm,
and I'm not going to extend. Yeah, that's true. He could call you today. He could call me today.
mhm,
But every day that I live, I want to live it to the fullest. And if I
mhm.
feel well, I know that I can.
Yeah.
And, like I'm injured, I fell, I told you. It's my mind is there. I could feel the pain. So it in some ways it does hold me back, right?
Yeah.
So there's truth to feeling well and doing his work well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
there's yeah. And
I love the connection. I love it. So
yeah.
tell me, I'm
Yes.
envisioning that woman listening right now
Yes.
who's like, okay, this is something I need to give some time and attention. I have not been, I've been, maybe they've been focusing on stewarding their time, but not in the area of wellness and things like that. Like, what would be one piece of encouragement or advice that you would give to that woman listening that would, yeah, just either encourage her or help her to take, a first step when maybe it feels really overwhelming based on where she is right now, or
Sure.
just help her to see like there is value in giving time to this.
Yeah. You know what? I would say the first thing is pray.
Mm,
Ask the Lord to guide you. He gives us all wisdom. All wisdom is from him, right?
yeah.
So I would say pray and ask him, Lord, what are you putting your finger on? Are you speaking to me? And
Mm,
he'll give you an answer. And if he is speaking to you, ask him, what should I work on, Lord? Like, is it, where should I start? I mean,
yeah.
in my wisdom, I guess, what I start with is usually nutrition. And I'll say, you know what? If you can't start anywhere, just start with your morning. Just have a good
Mm,
breakfast, have a balanced breakfast. Skip the Cheerios and maybe have some eggs. Maybe throw in some cottage cheese and a bowl of blueberries. Like,
mm,
just start really simple. What do you have in your fridge? Maybe some Greek yogurt. With some hemp hearts. Whatever you can do, just start with one thing. If
mm.
you don't have, I mean, what gets me is we overhaul everything,
Yes. And then we get overwhelmed and end up doing nothing and don't serve
right?
ourselves at all.
Or we go in hard and then we give up after the
Mhm.
diet, the 6 weeks, the whatever it is, the 75 hard, whatever it is, we give up because it was really hard and our brain really runs away from it.
Yes.
And I mean, I think, you know, God, everything in the Bible is wisdom. God gave us everything. He wrote it all down. It's like a manuscript that we just have to follow. So we do need to work on our mindset.
Mm,
Our mindset around food is such an important thing. Our mindset around even believing that we need to take care of our bodies or don't. God doesn't care about our body, He cares about our spiritual
mm,
walk. Is that actually true,
yeah, right.
right? Jesus took time. He
Mm,
would walk away. He would say, okay, you know what, guys, let's just go and have a time of rest. He
yes.
would do that. If he did that, do we not need to rest? He
Yeah.
recognized the how fragile the human body is and that it needs rest. And so it's not all about, doing the hit workouts, etc. We didn't cover workouts, just walk, guys. If you don't do anything, just walk after a meal. 10 minutes will start to reverse insulin resistance, which is really why we're
Mm,
gaining weight. But, you know, just take time. It doesn't have to be crazy hard, any of it. So just start with one thing and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you.
yeah. Yeah.
Ask for wisdom.
Interesting how it's so simple and yet it's not easy, but there are tools, and I love having access to people like you. So, as we're finishing up things today, how can someone get in touch with you? What resources do you have to help her? Maybe like, what's her next best step?
Sure. I think the best place to find me is in my podcast. It's called Mastering Metabolism After 40. And you can find everything you need there. So you can get in touch with me through there. You can send me an email. You could book a free call. You can just binge listen and glean. I have a lot of information. I mean, most of my clients find me through the podcast and they'll say, you know what? I already lost 5 or 10 pounds now. Help me do the rest. Help me to
Mm,
really get to the root of my issues. So you can glean from the podcast and that's my heart. If I can help everybody for, free, let's do it. Because
yeah,
some people might just need a few tweaks and then some
right.
people need deeper work and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. My audience already loves podcasts, so that's a great place to start is to add Lara's podcast to your library and yeah, listen and then implement. And that's the next piece of it. And that's why I always invite not only our guests, but also the audience here at Redeem Her Time into the Redeem Her Time community, where we don't just hear great ideas. How many of us listen to something like this? We're like, oh yeah, I should do this and I'm going to do this. And then we don't, right? And so it's that next step. It's not just the information, it's the implementation, which is where I feel like the lack is. And this is why we need people like Lara to help with our wellness and me to help with your time because we can know something, but just knowing something is only half the battle, right? As G.I. Joe says. So, anyway, I want to invite everyone, including you, Lara, into the Redeem Her Time community where we're going to be doing this coffee challenge. I'm in. Like, usually coffee's been my first thing, more because I just like the ambiance of like holding it when I spend time with Jesus, right? So I'm going to have to, yeah, be okay with not and see the difference that it makes. But yeah, and really just paying attention to some of these things and starting to make shifts. So come on over and join us at redeemhertime.com/community. We talk about life and business and faith and time and ROTI and all the things that relate to it. So I'm excited to continue the conversation over there. And, thank you, Lara. You are a wealth of a lot of information. And I think, especially in an area like this, we need that. We need to know, why does this matter and how do these things affect me and, long term, but then we need the how to. So I appreciate you pouring out into us today. And I always love just kind of ending with a personal question, because we're always paying attention around here to what is it time for in this season. So when you think about this season of your life and business, what is it time for you right now that you are going to commit to making time for that?
Making time. Well, really, I feel like God's leading me to connect the dots between spiritual wellness and physical wellness.
Mm,
And so, I'm just tinkering with my group. It's not all believers, but I'm offering an extra class because, I've gone to the place where if I could help them with their health, great. But if they don't know Jesus, like they
mm.
don't get the full picture. So although my programs are open to all faiths, I'm offering an extra class of just monthly of just biblical health.
Yeah.
And so that's really, yeah, where God's leading me. So I'll be sharing it on the podcast. It's not open to everyone yet, but yeah, it's a free thing that's going to be open to everybody. It's a monthly call and coaching and whatever, however God leads me, I'm gonna follow suit.
I
So
love
yeah,
that. And I'm going to give you permission and direction to come post about those calls in the Redeemer Time community inside our
I love
business
that.
directory. This is a free directory where I don't tell you have to wait till a certain day of the week and only put it in the comments, or otherwise you get put in timeout. Like, I believe when it's something like this, that's God's work. Whether, those of you listening, whether you feel like what you do is directly the Lord's work or it's just what you're specifically called to, like, you should be talking about what you do and you should be inviting people who could be served by that to be part of it. So, Lara, we're going to be looking forward to a post in there, and every time you're doing one of these calls, because I think this is something that, yeah, needs our time and attention, and I want to help you get the word out. So I'm excited. I'm really glad that God allowed our paths to cross, and that there's so
Too.
much truth that we can speak on in both of these areas, and so much overlap in how they affect each other. And I'm excited about the fruit that's going to come from this conversation. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you guys for listening. Here's my encouragement. Don't just move on to the next thing. What's your one nugget? What's that one thing that you heard, and what's that commitment you're going to make? Is it the coffee challenge? Come join us in the community and share with us, if you're in for that and just making one simple change. And also right now, while it's fresh, who is a business bestie that you have who also is probably somewhere in the midlife spectrum, whether she's coming into it, she's in it, or she's, kind of getting towards the other side of this season? Like, send this podcast to her and say, hey, this was an encouragement and challenge to me, and I think it might be to you too, because that's how we can help more women to be able to steward their time and their wellness for the glory of God. So I'm excited to see what comes of it. Thank you so much, Lara, for being with us today.
Thank you so much.